Big time fight coming up in the welterweight division, Matt. We have Magny, the Haitian Sensation, taking on Geoff Handz Of Steel Neal. And this is the first of back-to-back fights at welterweight, but this one definitely holds more water than your co-main event. You have a couple of guys coming off of main event losses in fight nights. For Geoff Neal, it was against Wonderboy Thompson. He got pieced up. I mean, Wonderboy on the back foot, one of the best counter strikers we have, one of the best strikers, period, in MMA. For Magny, he fought a weird fight, and that's the thing with Magny. Sometimes when he wrestles, he beats guys that have decent wrestling. He beat Robbie Lawler with his wrestling not that long ago. But then he fought Michael Chiesa. He employed a bit of a wrestle-heavy game, and it just didn't work out for him in that fight. So it's an odd one where Magny can strike, Magny can grapple, Magny can wrestle. Geoff Neal, primarily known from that southpaw stance to be one heck of a striker. So I like the matchup, Matt. I'm eager to get your thoughts.
This is a really, really fun fight. I'm by far more excited for this fight than any other on the card. And no disrespect to the main event and co-main event, but you have two ranked welterweights. And really, welterweight is one of the best divisions right now. And it's weird because Geoff Neal, known as a guy who normally goes in there and can just outstrike anybody. He is that specialist in the striking. But we saw him get beat at his own game. And then you look at Magny, and it was kind of the same thing. He got beat at his own game. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where both guys' confidence level is coming back. Because for Neal, he went on such a great run in his first little run in the UFC. Just knocking everybody out. You could see the hands. You even saw a little bit of the submission ability too. It was just such a great run for Geoff Neal until the Wonderboy fight. He took so much damage in that fight, though, and that's something that does concern me, because I don't feel like enough people are bringing up that, because a lot of people thought, yeah, he lost a 5-round main event against Wonderboy, it's not the end of the world, but the fact that Wonderboy did really piece him up, like, in the 5th round, this just goes to tell you what kind of a good guy Wonderboy is. Wonderboy hits him, wobbles him, he's like, you okay, man? And then, like, they kind of tap gloves, and then Wonderboy just goes back to hitting him a whole bunch.
The weird thing, though, for Neal going into that one, he had all of those issues, kind of injury woes, I guess I would call them, but he had some big health scares going into that one, and he had quite a bit of time off. It was just interesting to see him in that big of a fight like that.
I think we still both picked him, with all that being said.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, like, for Geoff Neal, we know what we're going to get. He's that dangerous southpaw. The thing I like about Geoff Neal, and we bring this up a lot, he doesn't go crazy when he gets a fighter hurt. He is very, very technical to the end, pretty much. He's not going to go in there and wobble you, and then get crazy with his technique and get clipped like Koreshkov going in against Douglas Lima in their second fight. He's going to keep it technical, and he's going to keep things short. And that's what I like about Geoff Neal. He's not a fighter who does things outside of his skill set, like Chris Weidman against Luke Rockhold throwing wheel kicks. Like Geoff Neal, yes, his game is somewhat basic, and I know we talked about Dominic Reyes in this fashion last weekend, but it's kind of in the exact opposite way. Like with Dominic Reyes, he only does a few things at like a 10 out of 10 level, or like a black belt level, if you will. But with Geoff Neal, he's such a high level striker. He's just figured out, these are my pinpoint strikes. These are my finishing strikes, if you will. I've got my left straight, my left high kick, but he can also throw combinations with all of his other strikes and then finish it with those techniques. I just really like the striking of Geoff Neal, and it's something that's going to give Magny a lot of trouble. And really, for this fight, I look at this fight a lot like I look at Lorenz Larkin versus Magny. Really, any primary striker against Magny. Even go back to the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight. And I know Ponzinibbio is not now the fighter he was back then, but still, fighters who can go in there, use leg kicks, defend basic takedowns, and are really good at striking, just beat Magny. Magny's the fighter who, I'd referenced Ally Quinta earlier, if you're really good at striking, Magny's going to take you down. If you're really good at grappling, well, Magny's going to try to keep you on the feet. Now, if you are exceptionally good at grappling, like a Damian Maia or a Michael Chiesa, you can get Magny to the ground, but I really do think Magny's going to be fishing for a lot of takedowns in this fight, while Neal's going to be trying to use that dynamic movement and the leg kicks of his, really just to keep Magny off of him.
So let's make it not confusing for the fans and ourselves. We're going to go with Neal, we're going to go with Geoff, and we're just not going to mention last names.
Probably
so
smart.
Geoff is going to take on Neal in this fight, and Geoff has very, very good takedown defense coming into this one. And for Mr. Magny, he's got an interesting fight on his hands, because if he chooses to strike with Geoff, if he chooses to strike with Geoff, it's going to be a tough night at the office, and that's just the truth of the matter. I mean, the striking defense of Geoff is quite good, especially if you just wipe away that Wonderboy Thompson fight. It is really, really good. And that's the thing, again, with the injury woes and all the progress, he's coming out here hot and he wants another fight. And it's the same thing for Magny. Listen, you get totally outclassed by Michael Chiesa, a guy that it seems like Kamaru Usman wants to fight him for the title. Like, that's a weird time. What are they doing on the desk? Wow, how does Karen Bryant feel about that? Awkward?
I don't accept that fight if I'm Michael Chiesa.
But you look at this fight, Matt, we have Neal, we have Geoff, and for Neal, he comes into this one, he opened a plus 210 underdog, he's about a plus 157 or thereabouts. For Geoff, He opened a -250. He's now at a -190. So you can get Neil Magny at a +157. You can get Geoff Neal right now at a -190. And for the fans, we look over on Topology. 945 total votes, 65% going with Geoff Neal to get the win. There is a large percentage that I'm to win by knockout, 69%. For the 35% that I'm Neil Magny, 79% by decision. I'm assuming you're going to go with a drag him out, ground him out type of fight if you want Neil Magny to win. And again, the striking of Geoff Neal is something to behold.
So it will be interesting because if you go back and, like Neil Magny when he fought Robbie Lawler, well, Robbie Lawler, he's a powerful southpaw striker. He's got good takedown defense. And if you're on the feet with him, he's probably going to knock you out. A lot of those skill sets do parallel what Geoff Neal brings to the table. But the difference was that, well, it's not like Robbie Lawler's been fighting for titles recently. When we talk about Robbie Lawler, we bring up Fight of the Year in 2013, Fight of the Year in 2015. Like, it's been a while since Robbie Lawler was at the top of the game, whereas Geoff Neal, he brings a lot of those same strengths to the table, but he's much more in his prime right now. And for Neal, he's coming off a decision loss to Wonderboy Thompson. You know who else is coming off a decision loss to Wonderboy Thompson? Then they knocked out Nico Price and basically knocked out Tyron Woodley, tapped him out, and choked him out. Yeah, Vicente Luque. Like, you can lose to Wonderboy and still go on and have a lot of success right afterwards, and I don't think that's the end of the line for a contender on their way up. I do think that was just a really good opportunity for Geoff Neal. Maybe he realized, okay, I can't go in here and just outstrike everybody. There is a certain limit to my striking capabilities, and maybe against these specialists, I'm going to have to mix in the takedown, because Geoff Neal's not a terrible grappler at the end of the day. And for Neil Magny, last point on him, it's interesting, because I feel like Neil Magny's the only guy who's ever called out Kamaru Usman. Like, he beat Craig White, showed it to the Thundercat, and said, like, hey, short notice, like, I can fight quick. Neil Magny does, like, stay active. But he was like, yeah, I'll fight Kamaru Usman. No one wants to fight him. And this is while Usman was on his way to the title. I just like the mindset of Neil Magny, because Neil Magny, he's called out Chimaev. He's called out Usman when no one wanted to fight him. Like, when you have guys who don't want to fight, Neil Magny's the guy who'll just raise his hand and say, yeah, I'll do it, no matter who you are. And you always have to respect Neil Magny for that. But at the end of the day, I do like the skill set of Geoff Neal, and I just think the counters and the overall accuracy of his strikes are really going to cause Neil Magny trouble at the end of the day.
You look at it for Neil Magny, and I mean, the 3-fight win streak going into the fight with Chiesa, it was Li Jingliang, Anthony Rocco Martin, Robbie Lawler. The Rocco fight was close. It was back and forth. It was an interesting fight. He looked great against Li Jingliang in that one. And then in the fight against Robbie Lawler, it was straight up one-way traffic. That fight wasn't competitive at all. Like, it was kind of a shell of Robbie Lawler. So he goes in, and originally it was supposed to be Geoff Neal. And then it was Robbie Lawler. So he beats Lawler, he gets Chiesa, and he didn't look great against Chiesa. And listen, it was a Wednesday afternoon main event. It was a weird one. It was.
The good news is, though, Michael Chiesa doesn't fight anything like Geoff Neal. Like, I kind of think we can throw out both guys' last performances just because Wonderboy doesn't do anything Neil Magny does, and really, Michael Chiesa doesn't do anything Geoff Neal does. I just think this fight, again, is one of those classic clash of styles. Yes, Neil Magny's well-rounded. He can get it done no matter where, but we know he's going to be going for the takedown in this fight. So this fight, to me, comes down to, can Neil Magny get the takedown, A? And if he gets it, can he secure it? Because it matters a lot more than if he can just take Geoff Neal down. Geoff Neal's good at getting back up to his feet. He's a great striker. A lot of guys try to take him down. I do think Geoff Neal, though, as this fight goes on, is going to come into the leg kicks and the left straights, and I do think Neal's probably going to get the finish.
Again, I said it from the start, if I didn't tip my hand already, which I try not to do, but with Geoff Neal coming out of Fortis, you get Neil Magny out of Elevation, you have a great, I want to say strength to schedule, but both these guys have really good strength to schedules, but they both have good corners with the Whitman connection, but also Saif Saud, but also the fact that you have great training partners. We already talked about Diego Ferreira in a recent fight, but again, if you go to Elevation, you get the Usmans, you've got the so on and so Gaethjes, you can go on forever, Namajunas and so on. Now, do they all train with Neil Magny? No, they don't, but still, there's so many high-level partners there. The list just goes on and on. But for Geoff Neal, I like the takedown defense, I like the counters, I like the forward pressure when he needs to as well. And with Neil Magny, my trouble is, I don't know what Neil Magny I'm ever going to get either, and that's the thing. So I will go with Geoff Neal. To me, it's an enjoyable fight. It's a pop and popcorn fight. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm more excited for this fight than any other on the card.
Matt, we're both going with Fortis MMA Zone. Handz of Steel, Geoff Neal to get the win. I love the fight. We have 2 more fights left on the card. One more at welterweight. Cowboy Cerrone taking on Alex Morono, the Great White. And in our main event, we have Marina Rodriguez and Michelle Waterson at 125 pounds. You're not going to want to miss that one. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.